All right, now we're going to start on the functionality. I want to start with this add teams. Why? Because team is first, shooters are part of a team. So, and a match has teams and shooters. So we always want to start with the one that's kind of like required first, right? So what I'm going to do is I've kind of just wrote a little bit of a prompt, okay? I want to select the CSV file when I click the add team button. The team table inside the shooting match, let's see, the teams table inside the shooting match.db, which is already created, has two fields: team name and match name. Actually, this is not 100% correct. The CSV file contains two fields. All right, so let's get rid of that. Contains two fields: team name and match name. I want to open the file from my local computer and write to my SQLite 3 shooting match.db teams table, which has two fields: a auto incremented primary key and team name. Okay, so let's see what that does. I'm just going to copy that and paste it right in. All right, let's see what that does. All right, so it says that we're going to open up the functions and we're going to add some stuff to it. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to replace this. We don't want to leave this here, right? We want to replace this. So when we click add teams, this right here, when we click the button, okay, add teams button, it's going to call this command, which is imported from here, which is going to come up here and execute this function. Okay, so let's come over and copy the code, go back to functions, and we'll just replace this code here. And we'll get rid of that. All right, and see how that looks. That looks awesome. Okay, and let's take a look and see what we're doing. So adding teams has some good comments in it. File path means it's going to go out there and grab it, and then it's going to create a connection to our shooting match. Notice it's here, shooting match, and then it does add this create a table if it doesn't exist. It always does that. Technically, I don't need that because I already know that I already created it. So we'll with open file name reader, next reader, for row and reader, it will go through and it will add all the different teams into this. So let's see if it works. All right, so I'm going to run main. All right, when I run main, I click add teams. It opens this little dialog box up. I click match and I click open, and I get an error. Okay. And the error says insert enter teams, team name, value, team name. Table teams has no column name, team name. So if I come over here and look under teams, it's team ID, and that's it. So let's modify. That's kind of weird. So let's modify that, right? So I'm going to come over here and we're going to click on that table and we're going to say modify table. We're going to add a new one, and it's going to be called team name. And we'll make that a text. Click OK and write the changes. Oh, it doesn't need to be written because it's already there. So let's look and see. There's team name. All right, now let's add teams. Click match, click open. And that might have worked. Let's look and see. If we come back over here, go to browse data and click on teams. Our teams are there. So it worked. Even though it looks like this error is here, we should have just cleared out that error. But we don't need to worry about that. It was there. The error was already there. Okay, so that worked. Okay, now I want to add a little, like a pop-up that said, "Hey, that worked." Okay, I can either add a pop-up, like a little message box that pops up, "Hey, it was completed," or an error. Okay, that's kind of cool. Or I could just output something here to the terminal. Okay, so let me go over and ask it and say, add a message box that says it was completed correctly, or an error if it didn't work. All right, and now it should just give us some more code for that. And see, that's how you can add functionality so easy to your application, okay? So I'm going to stop the application, and we're going to take a look and see what it is giving us. It just basically says, here's some more code, and it's going to do a try and an accept, which is kind of nice, okay? So I'm going to copy the code, and I'm just going to paste it in, okay? And what it does now is it added this try to the top, and it says try this. It's going to try all of this, and when it's done, it will say teams added successfully. Then it will come down and says if it didn't try, if something happened, any error along the way, it will tell you what the error actually was. Okay? So that's our try. I'm going to go back to the database, and I'm just going to delete these things, these 4. Okay? Delete records. All right? Write the changes so they're gone. And I'm going to run the application again. I'm going to add the teams, click on match, click open, and I get this little pop that says teams were added successfully. Click OK. And now I want to work on add shooters. So if I go back, I'm going to close the app. I can go back over here, and I'm going to refresh. Notice that the primary key is now 5, 6, 7, 8. That is totally okay. Okay, these are auto incremented. If I deleted these and add them, remember, primary keys do not have any meaning whatsoever. Don't change them back to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is perfectly fine. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to add we'll do the next one down. We're going to add the shooters. Now the shooters, it's a little bit different. It's not just insert into teams. It's insert into the shooter, but you got to also have the team. Okay. So let me show you what the ChatGPT prompt would look like here. All right, so this next one's going to get a little bit more complicated, which is kind of nice. What it is we need to create the new table, right? So I go back to the database structure, and we know what the table is going to look like. It's going to be called shooters, right? So I'm going to create a new table. It's going to be called shooters. All right, and I'm going to click add, and I want it to be shooter ID. We want it to be a primary key and auto increment. We want first name, okay, and that is a text. And I think we called it first name the other way. So first name. Okay, that's an underscore there. Do another one. We'll go last name. That's text. Okay, and then we'll do team ID, and that's an integer. And then we'll do gender, and that's text. Okay. All right. So we're going to say it gets a little bit complicated because I want this team ID to be pulled out of this teams one over here. And we don't know the ID. All we know is the team name. So it's going to go out, look for it, and then bring it back. So let's look at what we do for our, let's double check that that's right. Everything shows up here perfect. And then let's look at what we put into ChatGPT. I say now I want to add shooters to the shooter table. First name, last name, team ID, where the team ID is the primary key in the team's table. Right now, my CSV file has it as a team name. I need them to be matched and the primary key added to the shooters table. I also want a pop-up to ask what the gender is, and if it is male, add male to gender in the table, and vice versa for female. What the gender is for the list of shooters. Okay. All shooters will be the same gender from each CSV file. And if it is, okay, so that basically says when you do an import, you're only going to import male or female at one time. You don't have to do it. All right, so let's copy that and see if that works. I'm going to paste that right into ChatGPT and see how that works. All right, let's take a look and see what code we got back. So I'm going to come over here and look at it, and I'm going to copy the shooter code. It's getting a little bit long. That's okay. And I'm going to come down here where shooters is, and I'm just going to replace it. All right, and then let's take a look at what it does. Okay, so here it says add shooter, try. Grabs the CSV file, which is kind of cool. Gender, it asks, enter gender, male or female. Okay, and then it lowercases it. Okay, and then it comes down here, connects, And again, it creates the table, which you don't need to do. Okay. And then here, first, last name. But now it's going to select the ID from all the teams. Okay. But really, it's not ID, it's team ID. So we want to be careful with that, right? So select team ID from teams where team name equals the team name that we gave it, right? Because it wasn't just ID. Okay. Then we come down and it says insert into shooters, first name, last name, team ID, gender. Boom. And then we're passing in gender. Where do we get gen? Oh, gender's already there. First name, last name, team ID, gender. And where are we getting gender? Oh, gender's up here, which is good. Okay. Notice I have this underlined in red, simple dialog. That means I'm missing something up here, okay? So if we look at our code at the very top, most likely I just need to add it here. Simple dialog, okay? And now when I come back down, it will be not red anymore. So let's just see what this does. So, all right, so I'm going to run my code, and I'm going to add a shooter. I'm going to say boy shooters, click open. It's going to pop up, and I'm just going to call it male, and click OK. An error occurred, database is locked. I'm going to click OK. And I think I forgot to write the changes to it before I did shooters. So let's go look at the data and make sure there's nothing in there. Yeah, there's nothing in there. So let's run the code again. Okay, and I actually closed that database. I probably shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. I'm going to go add shooters, boy shooter, click open, and I'm going to call them male, click OK. Too many values to unpack, expected 3. Okay. We'll go look at that and see what that error is, and I'll report back on what that error is. So hold on. So I think what this error means is that it expects 3, but there's 4 columns, right? So we have first name, last name, the team, and the points. So we need to adjust the add shooters to just say use the first 3 columns and ignore the last one. Okay. So let's close that and close this so we're not running anymore. Let's go ahead and stop that, and we can close that. Let's go and look and see let's change this for row in reader. Basically what I asked it to do is I said, here's my error. An error occurred, too many values to unpack, expected 3. And then it came back and said, you need to adjust this line of code. And so let me explain what the line of code was. It only gave me this to change out. Right here, it added this little bit right here, adjust here to match the number of columns in your CSV. Okay. So first name, last name, team. Okay. And I'm going to type in, there are 4 columns. I am only using the first 3. Let's see if that fixes anything else. I don't think it will. I think it's fine. All right. So it does. It does make a difference. So we're going to change that. Once I put that in, instead of this, it's going to say adjust here. So I'm going to put this in. It says unpacked only the first 3 columns. First name, last name, team, row. And row is equal, just do unpack the first 3 columns. All right, let's run it again and see if it will work. So we're going to come up here and run. And we're going to add shooters, boy shooters, type in male, click OK. An error occurred, no such column ID. Okay, so it doesn't like the column ID, right? So let's come to right here. Remember I told you this team, it's team ID, not just regular ID. Okay, let's run it again. See how this is cool because it's adding a little bit of troubleshooting so you guys can see how to do some troubleshooting. All right, so we'll add male, click OK, and it says they were added successful. Now let's go back and look at the actual database. We can close that. If I just right click on the database, I can go to open in Explorer and just double click it, and it should open it right up. Yep. So if I browse data, here's my shooters. Notice 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So it added the team IDs, and they're all male as the gender. Okay. So that right there is big, and you would do the same thing again, talking to ChatGPT to try to get the team ID, the last name, the first name, all that stuff, whatever else you need, into that third table and the fourth table. Okay, so let's go ahead and close the database, and we'll stop running it. And what we want to do now is when we run it, I want to load this up with, let's just load it with all of our current shooters, first name, last name. Okay, so I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. You know what? I think this is a good place to stop. We'll do it in our third video.